Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sunday Night Breakdown on a Sunday, as it was planned to be, just before 8 o'clock. This is what it was meant to be. Daniel Outledge and Dave Forrester with you to go through all the action this week in Super League basketball. Wasn't as much drama as we might have liked this week, Dave.
Pretty dire, wasn't it?
Mm,
A little effort at the end there, but apart from that, then
yeah,
it was pretty much devoid of drama, devoid of edge,
yeah.
really.
Let's start on Friday in Manchester. Manchester basketball 84, Sheffield Sharks 106. No Oscar Boyne, obviously Henry's still out. Lee was back for Sheffield. Manchester struggling to score early on. No field goals for the first 3.5 minutes. Only two Max Jones threes in the first 5 minutes. But Sheffield were still only out to a 16-11 lead despite that.
Do we know what's up with Osborne?
I
Any
don't
idea,
know what's
Graham?
up with him, but he and Kane Henry, before about 2 hours before the game, were doing a extensive workout with the assistant coaches. So both of them looked relatively close to coming back to me.
Uh, okay, fair enough. Um, yeah, the fun with this team is watching this game is watching Sheffield because you're trying to figure out what Sheffield team is going to turn up. Kind of know what Manchester team is going to show up. They're going to be, guards who are playing with a lot of emotion, certainly Jones in particular, and kind of getting up and down and trying to make plays. Sheffield have been very up and down the last few weeks. This game, they were probably the team that you saw against Leicester in the second game of the season.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They were ready. They were ready. They brought Nixon off the bench. They played with a connectivity that they hadn't had, I didn't think, previously up until this point. And they just looked like a team that maybe they've been given a talking to be honest. Um, and they have certainly the second most talent in the league, in my view. So really, it should be like that. But they really attacked Manchester in every area. And well, Manchester are always going to run up and down. They're always going to make plays. They're a little bit thin without um, without Osborne at the middle because it gives you that they played around him so much. Nicholson gives you one kind of player. Shelton gives you a totally different player.
Mm,
But Osborne was the guy in the middle,
mm,
who gave them those minutes and kind of connected a lot of them together. And without him, Nicholson has dropped coverage, which Sheffield is a dangerous thing to be in against Sheffield. And then you try to get some energy out of Shelton.
mm.
But I have to say, other than watching Sheffield put their foot on the pedal in the third quarter, I don't really remember much about this game.
No. So in the second quarter, they were up by 9, and then Jones and Cleary, Manchester got a 15-0 run. It was basically out in transition. They were getting a lot of to the basket or open threes
Yeah.
in transition to get the lead 39-33. And then, as you say, the second half, Sheffield had a 9-0 run to put them
Actually,
53-66 in front. And to be honest, that was the end of Manchester's resistance, really.
actually, I do remember one thing about this game, and someone texted me about it as well. And actually, whilst I was watching the Eagles game in the arena, um, it's going to be a theme, unfortunately, moving through some of the games this week. One of the worst calls I can ever remember. I don't know if you saw about 6 minutes ago in the third quarter, Matt Nicholson. I think it was Prentice Nixon drive or Rodney Chapman drive. It was Prentice Nixon, I think, drive towards Matt Nicholson, grab his arm, pull it down, and throw the ball up and get two foul shots.
I don't
It's
remember that
probably
one.
just
Yeah, I don't
well,
remember that one.
you'd have to watch it back. It was
Yeah.
pointed out to me when I watched it. I'm like, what's Matt Nicholson done? He's done. There's not even a movement which looks like a foul. So horrendous. Go back. I'll say 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. But then Sheffield, when they got into their rhythm, and Manchester aren't great, and not a great defensive team. They kind of front up a little bit, but you don't see much in the way of kind of taking away stuff. Dirk got a lot of open looks in this game. I wasn't quite sure who Manchester were trying to stop. If that
Mm,
makes any sense. I
mm.
didn't. Everybody seemed to get what they wanted.
Yeah, yeah.
Moving James the ball in the post, and ultimately, if you give up 100, you're going to struggle to win.
Yeah.
So I think again, that's also a lot of that is also Boyne is probably a bit of a defensive energy for them. He kind of
Mm,
creates energy in everybody else. But the guards do kind of play like they prefer to play with the ball in their hands
mm.
than when the other team's got the ball.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And they're also foul prone.
Yeah, they are a bit. Uh,
Mm.
Jones 21.7 assists, Carey 6 of 9 for 14 points, Johnson 12 points, James 19 points, 11 rebounds, Williams 7 of 11 shooting for 17 points, and Kern 7 of 9 shooting for 17 points. Let's go to the game you were at, Dave.
What's the
Newcastle.
game rate now?
It
Wasn't much of a
wasn't
game.
much of a game. Newcastle Eagles 50, London Lions 76. Camway was out, so a first start of the season for Darius Defoe. Philip and Adamu were out for London, along with the other more longer term injuries. Newcastle didn't score for the first 4 minutes. They were 10 down before they got their second basket of the game.
I don't think they got a good shot for about first
Yeah,
4 minutes.
yeah,
Not even that they didn't score. They just there's a number of things. Obviously, I think London were coming off a loss on Friday, Wednesday night, and they come up and they've got what they would regard as a skeleton squad, but what anybody else would probably regard as a pretty good
yeah,
squad.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But they got 9 guys, and having 9 guys play
Threadbare nine players.
threadbare 9 players, and that does simplify things for the coach. It also simplifies things for the players. It means that they're going to get a little bit more time on court, a little bit more rhythm. They also knew that they were playing Newcastle in the trophy final in 3 weeks' time,
Yeah.
and I think that gave them a little bit of a little bit more of a kind of a okay, you know, we're not going to mess around. We're going to show this team what we're about. We're not going to mess around. But the overriding thing for me was I'm going to shout him out actually, Kieran Sandy.
Mm,
He came in the starting five. He didn't play. He hasn't played Wednesday night. Doesn't play many big minutes in games. You could say came in the starting five, and he was given the task of guarding Maceo Jack.
mm,
And he was in his shirt.
mm,
He was great, and the level of kind of commitment to do that as a role player, and who hasn't played much, to come in and do that job. And I say he was great. It was a palpable, tangible difference watching the game live
mm,
to seeing the way other people were being defended, to seeing the level of aggression, the level of threat, the level of athleticism that he was using to defend him. Because Jack's not an easy person to defend, certainly on the perimeter. And I thought that those first 5 minutes, Jack hardly touched the basketball. When he did, I think he turned it over. He came out of the game. They got in his head, and that was Sandy.
mm,
It helps obviously that he's backed up by I think Price started as well, who's 6'10", and you've got Dean Williams at the wing at 6'9", so you got a lot of length, so you can pressure the ball. But the attitude that he showed, not the attitude wrong, but the commitment to doing the things that a team needs you to do to win, as opposed to looking after yourself and not
mm.
sulking. I thought was really impressive. Now, the crazy thing about this game was no one made a three-pointer until about 16 minutes into the game.
Yeah, yeah.
Shavar Reynolds. No one made a three-pointer in the first quarter.
Mm,
London, because Newcastle was switching everything, and they did an absolutely forensic job on breaking down the switches and getting the ball inside.
mm,
And getting the ball inside to layups, getting to the rim on layups. I think the first two or three plays Newcastle didn't switch, and they got layups. So then Newcastle had to start switching, and then wouldn't be the first pass; it would be the second pass in the post. They played like a team and knew exactly where the ball had to go. Obviously, in the Eagles offensively, I'm not convinced by their starting lineup. I'm not convinced starting Jack and Hammond is the right way, to be honest. Um, I think I think Burden and Taylor probably need to play together a bit more. Jack and Hammond kind of match up physically with the opposition, on the wings, but there's not much creation there. Hammond's a shooter, and Jack can go off the dribble, but he generally goes off the dribble to score.
mm,
So you're kind of looking at Burden to be the only one who's looking to distribute. So I think I would be looking at staggering those two a little bit more. But even then, you know, without Canway's given them some offensive inside scoring recently without him. And as a team which is coming off probably their success, which is getting to the trophy final,
Yeah, yeah,
they were very, 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 very flat. And London were just very. I mean, London were really impressive because yeah, okay, I say they've got nine, but they've got Aaron Wright, league MVP, coming off the bench. So it's not the worst nine in the world. Jonathan Williams coming off the bench, or starting at Price, whoever it was. But the thing about London was I thought they were, and Tariq wasn't there, which made a difference. But they were really, really temperate in the way that they played,
mm,
controlled,
mm,
was surgical, the way they beat Newcastle.
mm.
And I think so. Newcastle have a shot against London, have to beat 120%, and London have to beat 75%.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Newcastle are at 75%, and London are 110%. And I think
yeah,
London, for all, I've heard people say, "Oh, London didn't play that well." I thought London were great.
yeah,
You don't have to just score 100 points to play well.
yeah, yeah,
If you score, you control the tempo, you get good shots. And you're up by 20 after 25 after the first 3 minutes of the third quarter. It doesn't matter whether you score 75 or 100.
yeah, yeah,
No matter how many shots you knocked down, they just stifled Newcastle, and they looked very, very impressive. Now, as I say, I think yeah, Newcastle frustrated me. They didn't set enough. They did without Canway and Defoe hardly played. They didn't set any screens on the ball. It was all kind of whiff action and kind of misdirection, which didn't cause any London players to become misdirected.
no,
And so they couldn't create offense, and they couldn't. Their half court offense did not create good shots, and then they didn't have anybody who stepped up to score the basketball. But overall, I think it's led by Sandy. I thought, and two guards who are the highest level.
mm,
Without question, Reynolds and Randall. Well, really, really, you could see their size and their ability to get to where they wanted to go on the court at their own speed without anybody being able to stop them.
mm.
And still being fully in control. That was a Euro Cup. There were two Euro Cup level guards. But everything else, yeah, I think Newcastle just didn't show up after the high of Sunday, and they are yet to show, to be fair, after they've had a particularly good win, that they're able to regulate their emotions to get back to stop feeling good. That thing about momentum between
Yeah,
games
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
exist.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
always scary. Always scary. They've yet to show this season that they can. I mean, they're a team that's coming together. Burton's only played 6 games, but they're yet to show that they're consistent enough to kind of stack good games on top of each other. And
yeah.
they weren't ready. They weren't ready for the game, and London
Uh,
were.
Mid-second quarter, it was 2024. London then scored 13 points without reply to lead 20-37, and that was basically the game there. As you mentioned the three-pointers. Eagles were 0 for 10 just before halftime from three-point range.
But the Eagles were 3 for 23 in the game, right?
Yeah,
And the three they made were good shots. If you go
yeah,
back, Long made an open one in the corner at the half time. Taylor made one off a kick out, and maybe Clark made one coming off a screen when they were way back on the screen, right? There were three good shots. The other 20, they hardly got a look at the basket,
yeah, yeah,
because they didn't create good shots. It wasn't. I don't want people to think, oh, they just had a bad shooting night, because teams do just have bad shooting nights, but they didn't create good shots. That
mm,
was the problem. The ones they were meant to knock down, they did knock down, but they didn't get in the paint, they didn't kick the ball out, didn't make the extra pass, and didn't offensively rebound the ball. And that is a way of getting 50 points. I mean,
yeah,
when they made the layup at the end there, I thought everyone's going to stop and they were going to come out and raise their bat.
mm,
We
yeah,
got to
yeah.
50.
We got
Lewis,
50. Burden, 15 points. He was the only player in double figures for Newcastle. They were 17 of 58 from the floor and 13%, as you said, from three-point range. Reynolds, 15. Sandy, 14 and 7 rebounds. Price, 12, 5 of 6, but limped out in the third quarter with an ankle injury. Some stats for you, Dave. You won't like them, but I'll give them
oh,
to you
just on that
anyway.
one, yeah. I mean, obviously Newcastle get to play them 2 weeks before, a week before the final as well. So maybe injure a couple more, they might have
Yeah.
half a chance.
Well,
Yeah.
obviously they're so on demand. They've signed another two players now
I
as well.
saw that, yeah.
Uh,
Yes, I know, God.
uh, so since 2009, which is as far back as I've got quarter scores for, the games in which Eagles were sub 40 points after three quarters were 35 on the 22nd of April against the 2018 against the Rocks. The 8th of October 23, they had 36 against the Sharks, and then that one they had 37 against the Lions. And 50,
So 2018,
yeah,
Caledonia against Glasgow in
yeah,
the.
yeah. It was a low scoring game. You might even have won. It was one of them where it was like 60 something, 50 something. I
I'm
can't
just
remember the
wondering.
final score.
I'm wondering whether we wanted to win. I wonder if it was the end of the season. It didn't matter. I mean, anyway, yeah, go on. I can't
And
remember
that
that date.
was the since 1987. Obviously, Sunderland goes back before that into the 70s, but I haven't got all of the results from that. So since
Yeah,
1987, BBL era and beyond, that 50 points was the third lowest Eagles score ever. It tied the lowest ever at home. They had a 50.
36-point game.
Yeah, yeah. They had a 50 away to Sheffield in 1994 and at home to Worthing in 1991, a 46 away to Manchester Giants in 1994, and the 36 you were talking about there at Hemel in
I think that game
1991.
at Hemel, to be fair, that was the season after they played in Europe and
Yeah, yeah,
all of them pulled out. And I think it was Kenny Nottage who scored 24 and a
yeah,
bunch of league guys who scored the other 12.
yeah, yeah.
That's not being disrespectful to them. That was the first game of the season as
I
well, so
think
they
it
hadn't.
was. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
100 to
so
36. Yeah,
I remember checking CFAX at the score and my eyes kind of
yeah,
boggled a
yeah,
bit.
yeah,
36. And then found out Kenny scored 24 of them.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's why he got a
Yeah, so it
stand
wasn't
named
good.
after him.
Got a star named after him, absolutely. But no, it wasn't great. No, not
Let's
good.
move
Which
on to Surrey 89ers 93, Bristol Flyers 80. Kuntz was out again for Surrey. Dugalich, they've announced fractured his
is
ankle.
Grun still there? Because if so, have they released him or not? Because I couldn't see him on the bench.
I thought he was. I thought he was there. I didn't notice today. I wasn't looking, but I thought I saw him.
Hmm.
Thought he was at this game. They put him out. They put a
All
graphic
right,
out saying unavailable to play
he's on the
tonight. His
bench.
own. Yeah, yeah.
All right, fair enough. Okay, okay, cool. Because I,
Dugalich, as I say, fractured ankle, so he's out. Evan Walsh
yeah,
is back though, and Brown returned from injury as well. Lilly and Polite hitting threes to put Surrey 16-9 ahead after 6 minutes.
yeah. I mean, this is a team that's kind of on the up. Who've got an extra player. Who are
Mm,
kind of got two extra players really because they've signed Lawrence and they've brought Lawrence back. So two
mm,
extra guys who've got two guys in Small and Graham who have improved over the course of the season quite considerably as they've got more used to the system. So they're on an upswing against a team in Bristol who are looking a bit like they've run out of gas.
mm,
Um, they played. I think they played Wednesday against the Norwegian team,
mm.
and
In
sort of
overtime
short
as
turn
well.
overtime game, short turnaround for them, um, and not a team which is blessed with I think I said before, an substantial amount of athleticism to kind of get them cheap buckets either.
Mm,
And so sometimes, all the threes that are flying in earlier in the season when the ball's fizzing around, your legs get a little bit heavier, a little bit more tight. It doesn't take much for them to stop going in. Then you've got a rebound, you've got a battle. So um, it was Bristol Bristol. I think bringing Walsh back is a very smart move because it gives them that little bit of jolt of energy that I think they need. To keep going.
yeah. And he
It's
will
a
get them the cheap points you're talking about as well.
You're getting some cheap points, but the energy extra having another playable body, someone who knows the system, who's been there. I mean, it's pretty much a no-brainer. And you're getting into the dog days of January and February, so
Mm,
you're going to need that. But the overriding thought about this was that the empty minute this game was that the empty minutes that Surrey had earlier on in the season, which had cost them games, they weren't there anymore.
no.
Do you know what I mean? And we know what I mean. We've watched all the games, so
Mm,
you know that the runs that teams went on against them,
yeah,
or
yeah.
just they just weren't there anymore. There's a consistency to what they're doing. I think Small has stepped up substantially, and he's probably
Mm,
one of the best players in the league at the moment because he does it quietly and he's got long arms and he makes layups and occasional shots, but really impressive. And just the new Lawrence is going to help
mm,
them. In this game, um, I just again thought Bristol just ran out of gas, couldn't make
Yeah,
enough
yeah.
shots.
There
It
was
sounds simplistic,
yeah.
but
There was a 15-6 run in the second quarter by Surrey. The lead was out to 15-41-26, and a bit like the two previous games, that was the end of the game, really.
yeah, I mean, obviously Brown's just got back. You're losing that kind of Swiss Army knife that Dougal, or whatever Serbian Army knife that Dougal was. Walsh obviously struggled his first game, but he managed. I think his first stat was non-sportsmanlike, which is never
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Bless him. And so, but you're not going to get something straight away from somebody, coming in a team like that. Um, they are heavily dependent on Anderson and Holden. And Holden had one of those games where, Holden is inconsistent.
Mm,
He's a triple double threat at one night, and then the next night he's one of eight, one of nine, and really struggling to find his game and just over and then over. It's not through lack of trying. He just sometimes over pressures, over tries almost.
mm,
Just his decision making is a little bit less, and goes awry. And yeah, they have to make ultimately they have to find ways of making shots. What I will say though is that I think Surrey are probably offensively a little bit underrated now. I think they are far
yeah,
better offensively than
yeah,
they
yeah.
were. And in the half court, the talent that they haven't, Lily is obviously. I mean, I think it was in the third quarter of this game when um, it might have been, it might have been McCormack, but somebody, whoever was Joe Anderson, actually, it was Joe Anderson. Keano Lilly had made 5 threes, and Joe Anderson went under a screen.
Yeah, yeah.
And he made a sixth. And at that point, I thought to myself, "Man, these guys are goosed,"
Mm,
because the mentality, the mental side of it, it's not the physical side of it, it's the mental side of it. There's no way in the world this guy hasn't missed a shot all night. He's
yeah,
killing
yeah.
you, and you're going under a screen at the top. What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And Joe Anderson's too smart a player. I know that's what he's meant to do. So that's just a kind of just when everything kind of gets on top of you type of situation. But sorry, their floor balance is good. They get good shots most of the time. They need Ling to be consistent as a backup centre to take them to the very next kind of level because Lloyd always wants to play with the centre in the game and he hasn't really got anybody outside of Ling and Graham who can. Nwankwo's played a little bit, but he's a kid, so push him to one side. Ling and Graham, he doesn't really have anybody who can play that small ball five.
Mm,
So it's like Teo might be the small ball five, or Small might be the small ball five, but that's not what they're particularly good at. So they need to get minutes out of Ling, um, which are impactful minutes. And in this game, he was solid,
mm,
I think, from memory. I can't remember. I might be lying.
mm,
Um, but if they get that, then they're kind of stacked,
mm.
because they've got a really shifty and composed point guard in Polite. They've got a nail on knockdown shooter in Lily. They've got a great backup guard in Lawrence if he's healthy, if he stays healthy. And then they've got the new Lawrence who's an absolute perfect fit for all of them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And just does a little bit of everything and just looks like he belongs straight away, which is tough. So they are just kind of set.
Mm.
Um, and I think this would have been a really pleasing win for them because it wasn't a fluke.
No, no. Lily, 7 of 9 threes he ended up with, 22 points. Sholovinska, 17. Small, 14 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. They were 14 of 26 from three. Joachim, 17. Joe Anderson, 16 points, 5 assists. McCormack, 13. Let's come to today. Uh, and Leicester Riders 102, Manchester Basketball 95. Also, Boyne and Henry, as I say, working out before the game, but not playing. Kyle Carey with the first start of the season. Max Jones didn't play in the first quarter for reasons I know not which.
Oh, come on,
Uh,
you're coming.
yeah,
Boss,
I
come
know.
on.
Yeah,
Come
I know.
on.
Well, and speculated maybe he was late for the bus or something. It feels
I'm
like one of
thinking
those.
it has to be a discipline issue. And
Yeah,
to be fair, if it was going to be a discipline issue, it would be him or Osborne on that team.
yeah, yeah,
Osborne passes to people, so people will
yeah.
generally let. As George
yeah,
shoots it, you always get less of a rope with
yeah,
the other guy on the team if you're a shooter as opposed to a passer,
yeah,
which means that the coach and the reason that's relevant is because it's easier for the coach to discipline somebody who's on less rope with the rest of the team.
yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, than that.
That was my assumption because he came literally the horn blew for quarter time and he walked up to the table to say I'm coming in. And I was thinking,
Yeah,
well, you
I
don't
mean
need
that.
to tell anybody that, but that was his like, I'm coming in.
Yeah, I mean obviously that is all speculation.
It's
People
all
so
total
don't
speculation, no evidence for anything.
genuinely speculation. I'm guessing, but yeah, it sounds disciplined. And let's just take that one step forward. It's an interesting coaching move. You know, for me, it would be difficult to find something that was serious enough for you to miss a quarter, but not serious enough for you to miss the whole game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Um, so it can't be. Yeah, it's a really interesting one that it didn't appear to affect him within probably his first 5 minutes. He was over trying and
yeah,
over
yeah.
pressing, made some turnovers and made some,
It was
doing
basically
that
a
kind of.
shooting scoring race this day. Wasn't it? Two teams going up, trading scores, basically nothing in it in the
In the
first
half
half. They
time, I was
both
thinking,
led by six. It was 53-53 at half time.
in the half time, it was like 95-point rules coming in
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Leicester's
yeah,
going to win.
yeah,
Just like the fast. I mean, these two teams have played each other twice now in a fortnight, and neither of them has shown the slightest inclination to try and stop the other one,
yeah,
or to know how to stop the other one. I think
yeah,
Leicester tried a little bit harder, but I have to say, that they are quite happy to give up. The, they struggle to keep people in front of them on the perimeter. I think that would be fair to say. So, Smith and Carey, Smith and Jones and Johnson were able to get to the rim in this game a lot. I mean, I'll give a shout out to Kyle Carey as well. He started because he wanted someone to guard Battle.
yeah, yeah. He did a good job.
Just like Sandy started to guard Jack. He wanted someone to guard Battle, and I thought, okay, and again, you know. Kind of frustrates me that it's these guys who are the role players who are putting in the effort to guard the opposition's best players.
Mm,
Your best players should be doing that as well.
mm,
You know, you shouldn't be. It shouldn't be just relying on, oh, let's bring in the British kid to play with a bit of energy and guard somebody and do his job and be the role player. No, the best players in the league, the best players in the world are two-way players. You got to do it both ends.
mm,
That's what kind of impressed me with the London team so much. They all did it both ends,
mm.
in a disciplined manner. And I don't think some of the Manchester guys do it both ends. And I think the Leicester guy, I'm not sure about Leicester. Give up a lot of points at the moment.
Mm.
They are very talented offensively, but they're giving up a lot of points as well. So yeah, it was a score. It was a scoring race, and scoring race is basically finish up with who's going to basically have the most scorers. And in this game, Sulaiman was a turning.
Yeah,
Sulaiman was a guy because if Sulaiman goes, 2 of 8 or whatever he must have been
yeah,
6 of 8 or something like that. If he goes
yeah,
2 of 8, then Manchester probably win. And
yeah,
Manchester are probably thinking, well, that's the way he's been shooting this season. So why did they get a good game against us? Well, he got a good game because he got open shots early.
yeah, yeah. So PJ Smith pushed it out to 58-65 in the third quarter. Then out of a timeout, Leicester three threes to make it a 1 point game,
And Jerry
67-68.
made two, didn't he? And I was looking at the second one. You haven't got a hand upon him.
Mm,
These guys are pros. They're gonna get a timeout. They're gonna come back. They're gonna get to their spot and shoot their shots, and that's what they did.
mm.
And as I say, there needs to be a little bit of urgency from Manchester's perspective on how to stop somebody. I mean, they gave up how many against Sheffield? 100 and something?
106.
106 against Sheffield, 102 against Leicester.
Mm.
You know, ultimately, that's a problem. And the second thing was, I mean, the difficulty that they had and what changed in the fourth quarter. Their offense dried up a little bit, which is a problem. It's always going to be a problem in the scoring race. But um, Leicester made a number. Nicholson was in the game again at centre because I think they shot him foul out, or he looked
The-
frustrated when he
Just,
went to the
just
bench. I
let
wasn't
me
really
just
listening to
before you
you.
get to the fourth quarter, I'll just finish off the third. Manchester timeout had eight in a row to make it back out to 9, 67, 76, and then Suleiman with eight in a 10-2 finish by Leicester. So they went into the fourth quarter 1 point game, 77-78. Shelton hadn't fouled out at
Yeah,
that
absolutely
point. Yeah,
remarkable
yeah.
call somewhere.
Which one?
Absolutely remarkable call sometime in the third quarter. Well, there's a few of them. Well, Leicester got the ball. Leicester got an offensive rebound.
Oh yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
Manchester got a defensive rebound and that's
yeah.
and then Nicholson got called for a push on the rebound, but they win team fouls, but they didn't get shots because it was suggested that the foul was
The
after
after the
Manchester had the
rebound.
ball, which
Yeah,
would lead the question to be, why would you foul after he had the ball? And
yeah,
when it absolutely wasn't, the foul was called was because it was minimal contact,
mm,
but it was preventing Leicester guy get the ball. That was
yeah,
your
yeah,
point of the foul,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
during the rebounding. Nonsense. It's
Mm,
just again overthinking, nonsense call. And it helped Leicester because they got Battle made a three instead of a two
yeah.
as a result. Um, but Manchester, sorry, but yeah, so it was that, and there were a few more head scratchers in that game too,
Mm,
to be honest. But probably not as bad as the defense, if I'm fair.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but then in the fourth quarter, Shelton went sat on the bench with about 7 minutes to go. Nicholson came back in the game. That brings Manchester into their deep drop coverage because basically on the screen and roll, Nicholson is just standing under the rim. He's not coming up anywhere near
No.
the ball handler. Two or three times in a row, it might have been Carey, might have been Bat, I can't remember. They
I
made
think
those little
Evie had
15
one as
Johnson
well.
maybe if you had one. They made those little kind of rhythm 15-foot jump shots. And in the fourth quarter, when things get a bit tighter, you're looking for easy offense.
Mm,
So with about 3 minutes to go, they kind of Manchester changed that. The other time out, they changed it, and then they started doubling,
mm,
or they started having Nicholson come out high and hedge the screen and almost put two on the ball. And as soon as they did that, Leicester just picked them apart
mm.
because they're not practiced it, they don't do it. So it was a that was where you miss Ossaboyan because with Ossaboyan you just switch all those screen rules,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
then you don't have Nicholson on the court, and it doesn't give you easy offense. It doesn't mean Leicester won't score, but it doesn't give you easy offense. And yeah, and at the other end, Manchester basically struggled to put the ball in the basket in the
yeah.
fourth quarter.
So the point at which you're talking about, so Lyman had an and one. Loving had a couple of scores, and one of them really difficult shot as well. And
Yeah, the
then
fadeaway 2-0 on the
yeah, yeah, put Leicester a couple of
yeah.
possessions up, and then with 46 seconds to go, a Spencer Johnson three basically sealed the game.
That was just off one pass
Mm,
off a high hedge by Nicholson. Nicholson's outside the 3 point line. The whole defense breaks down. Johnson's wide open, and Johnson's now made a few of them.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
When he's open at the end of games, he's made a few of them. He's a Johnson's a guy who makes the shots he's meant to make. He's not a particularly good tough shot maker, if you know what I mean. The shots that he's not meant to shoot or has to shoot at the end of the clock, he's not
Mm,
a great at them. But if his feet are set and he knows and he's got his timing and he's got his spacing, he looks like a repetition guy. He make those repeatedly, and yeah, that shot kind of broke the game open.
mm. So Lyman, 17
Broke the game.
points, 4 of 4 from the floor, and 7 of 7 from the free throw line. Perfect game. Loving
Yeah.
6 of 9 shooting for 17 points. Johnson 16 points. Leicester with 13 of 29 from three and 19 of 19 from the free throw line. That is the second most made free throws without a miss in the live stats era, behind Bristol, who had 20 from 20 versus Newcastle in April 24, and it beat Leicester's previous best, which was 18 of 18 versus the Rocks in November 2019.
Yeah, the encouraging thing for Leicester is that they scored 102, and you haven't mentioned Carey or Battle as being the
No,
top scorer.
no.
Obviously, we talked 2 weeks ago when they played London about how ball dominant those guys were. So that message seems to have got through. The reason Loving makes those tough fadeaways is um, because he's touching the ball early and making shots early. And the reason Leicester make 19 foul shots is because Menzies didn't shoot any. Oh yeah,
Did he not? No, he didn't. You're right. Yeah.
uh,
I've
neither did Martin. Did he? Martin didn't shoot any either.
Martin made one, I think, did he? Oh
Did
no, he
one.
didn't shoot any. No,
No, he
you're
didn't
right.
shoot
Yeah,
any.
he didn't. Right.
And why didn't he shoot any? Because they're in that drop coverage. So at the beginning of
Yeah,
the game, Martin shooting foul line jump
yeah,
shots in
yeah,
rhythm.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
saw
he
him
was 5 or 6 from the floor.
5 or
So
6 because he's shooting rhythm shots which aren't
yeah,
being challenged because they
yeah.
don't want to bring Nicholson away from the basket. It's they're worried that he'll foul if he pulled away from the basket. He hasn't got the foot speed to get back. So it's a system that works against certain teams, but probably not against Leicester if you look at the last
Mm,
two games.
mm. I forgot to write the Manchester scorers down, so I'm just looking now. PJ Smith, 17 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. Kyle Cleary, 17 points, and then 13 for added to Cassie and Jones.
Some serious dunk from Kyan Cleary as well. Give him
Yeah,
some
yeah,
props
yeah,
for that. I mean, obviously it's only 2 points, but yeah, he went up to the top floor, I think you would say.
yeah. Right. Let's go to Caledonia Gladiators 73, Surrey 89 is 86. Jimenez was out for this game, so Holland a first start since November. Nothing really in this either early on as well. 4 points either way was the biggest lead in the first quarter. It briefly got to six at the start of the second, but most of the first half was a shot or two. It was a 1 point game at halftime.
Yeah, I don't know if this was by design, but obviously I do know that Caledonia have kind of shot the lights out against Surrey a couple of times this season from memory.
Mm,
And basically Surrey took away the 3 point shooting in this
mm,
game. Early on it was a layup, it was almost layup after layup, but it was all in inside in the paint. And in Holland, as you see, it was his first game back, and he was out to prove a point, which is, hang on, you've just signed another guard, and I'm still here, you know.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so Jimenez wasn't playing, and Jimenez, who they've got used to playing with, is a pass first point guard, whereby everybody else is kind of primarily going to be getting the ball.
Mm,
Well, in this game, Holland was being uber aggressive, um, and I think he had 20 odd in the first half. And his kind of uber aggression is sometimes getting to the rim, but also shooting the 15-foot pull up as well. Um, the corollary to that was that the shooters didn't get going. Ragsdale really didn't get many looks. Wright didn't get many looks. Spielman didn't get many looks. So it was a little bit, like the game last week with Cheshire and Newcastle, where Robinson was scoring, but the threes weren't, as a result of Robinson getting to the rim and shooting the ball a lot. The threes weren't necessarily falling, and the twos weren't going to kill you.
mm,
And I think at one point you had half their points.
mm,
In the meantime, Surrey kind of just kept doing what they do offensively. Lily really didn't get going in the first half at all, but they got enough out of Small and enough out of Graham at the rim to kind of keep it going. The one thing I like about Surrey is the ball. If it gets into the ball in the paint, it doesn't always have to go up.
mm,
So it comes out and they rotate it well, and they get shots on the wing. So yeah, Caledonia's rotation looked deep, but also was a little bit clunky with kind of Jones coming in. You weren't quite sure, when Holland was playing so well, Jones kind of came in the beginning of the second quarter, what kind of role he has. That they're going to have to figure that out. They got basically nothing out of Ragsdale in this game
mm.
until he made a pointless three with 30 seconds to go.
Yeah,
And they got ultimately outpassed.
yeah. I forgot to look it up, but let me just check it now because did they only make four threes, was it? And two of them were in the last 30 seconds. Am I right in thinking? Yeah, they were four of 23 and they made two in definitely the last minute, if not the last 30 seconds.
I've just got to look at these stats here. Ryan Holland, 32 points in
So he
35
wasn't
minutes.
he wasn't far off half their points at the end of the game.
I was,
Basically, Surrey scored had a 6-0 run at the start of the third quarter and then blew the game open at the start of the fourth quarter when they went 15-2 to lead 57-74 and
uh,
steal the game.
hopefully, just to prove that what we're talking about is verifiable. I've just checked the stats here because I hadn't checked them before, and you have to believe me on that. Um, Caledonia had 8 assists in the whole game.
Mm,
Now, that must be about as low as it's ever been. That'll be a live stats era one for you to check,
yeah, yeah.
even apart from Leeds, maybe. 8 assists in a game. Now, why is that? Your point guard's got 32 points and your team's got 8 assists. That's not really a conducive to winning.
Mm,
They only had 9 turnovers, but it's still 8 assists in the whole game.
mm,
Um, so that's kind of the structural issue that beset Caledonia in this game. In relation to Surrey, again, it was just kind of a continuation. The most encouraging thing for Surrey about it is that the last three games that I've watched, it seems sustainable.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Tyron Lawrence, 30 points in this game
yeah.
off the bench. Literally new guy in 3 games in. He's just gone 12 of 17, 10 of 12. And that kind of extra boost, which maybe, Kuntz wasn't giving them 30 points.
No, he wasn't.
Maybe they don't. Maybe without him, they don't get over the edge in that game. Cholvinskis was one of four. Lily was two of eight. Maybe it's a game they would have dropped. But now they have that extra little bit of depth, and that little bit of depth looks, as I say, it looks sustainable. If they, subject to maintaining their health. Graham plays 25 minutes, Ling plays 13 minutes, so they're able to share the minutes at the five spot. And just it's very difficult to say this is the reason why it happened. This is what they're all doing well. They're just putting together good possession after good possession, and they now have somebody who can bail them out at the end. And that's
There's
massive.
actually the 8 assists is the lowest since the 27th of December when
Oh,
Leicester had seven against London. Yeah, there was
oh yeah. Well,
also in September Bristol had seven against London. Actually, Caledonia had seven in February of 25, also against London. So there's
so
400 odd in the live stats era of eight or fewer.
400. That might just be bad statisticians, of course.
Possibly,
Uh,
possibly.
but given that you get assists for foul shots as well
Yeah,
nowadays, I
yeah,
mean, that is a team. And the last three of them were against London, and London's defense is slightly different to everybody
yeah,
else's.
yeah,
So
yeah,
having 8 assists against Surrey, who aren't the most physically imposing team in the history of the world,
yeah. Mm.
isn't great. Um,
So
but yeah,
Holland with 32 points, five steals as well. Wright with 16 points and six rebounds. Nobody else in double figures. They only had eight bench points. Tyrone Lawrence, as you say, 12 of 17 for 30 points. Small, 18 points, nine rebounds, four assists. Polite, 16 points, seven rebounds, six assists. Two different people have asked me, Dave, the last time a Surrey team won three in a row. Want to have a guess?
they're getting heady, aren't they now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So just remember that it's just enough for it. When the last time a Surrey team won three in a row, is it really that long ago?
It is.
Bloody hell.
Mm.
No, I don't know, Dan. I
Well,
don't
if
know.
I gave you the clue that the last time it happened, two of them were 20-0, would that narrow it down?
20 nils don't count, surely.
Yeah. November
20,
20 November 2020, they won three games in a row, but as I say, two of them were COVID casualties, so at 20-0. The last time they actually won three games on the court in a row was January that year, January 2020. Before that, was a five in a row in April 2018. So it's pretty rare air in the
that is
last 8 years.
that has genuinely flabbergasted me
Mm,
because they haven't been awful at any. Well, they've been at times they've been poor.
mm,
They've had a couple of years where they weren't great, but they've not really been awful.
mm,
To the point, and they've had good players there.
mm.
To lose three, not to have won three in a row, just goes to show it's hard.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not mentioning our streak of 27.
No,
Uh,
no.
that,
Well,
that would be that would be
I'll
that
just
would be
pick
immodest.
Kingston out in the 45.
Yeah, I know you. That would be immodest.
Final game, Cheshire Phoenix 101, Newcastle Eagles 98. Camway was back, but Defoe didn't play, and obviously Ben Thomas was suspended for this game, so James Bryce was patrolling
Yeah,
the
that was
sidelines.
interesting, wasn't it? I mean, I'm still, the SLB disciplinary procedures make the Russian justice system look transparent, but the very limited amount of information that we were given appears to have drawn a line that putting your hands on somebody as a coach isn't acceptable, and that's why you get the ban. I'm not necessarily sure that is worth less than a player dropping an elbow on somebody in a game and potentially breaking their jaw.
Mm.
If I'm That's worth more than that. Sorry, but
Somebody said to me that
I
if
would have preferred a greater explanation of the
yeah, yeah.
reasoning to do. I think it's really, really poor what they put out. I think if you want to, the crazy thing more than anything else, if you want to build a narrative around the sport, you've got to build
Yeah,
this stuff up.
yeah,
If it
yeah, yeah,
happens, you've got to
yeah, yeah,
hide away from it. Then
yeah.
they've hidden away from it. So who made the complaint? What video evidence was there? Because as if you remember when I talked about it, it didn't look like we'd seen the whole, we saw half the line, but not the other rest of it. Exactly what happened, and what findings of fact did they make about everybody else? I mean,
Mm.
just I'm not impressed. But anyway, if we've got to live with it. And of course, Nick Kern still playing.
Yeah, yeah,
Came off
yeah,
the bench, came
yeah.
off the bench. Qualified for coming off the bench. No sanction, no repercussion.
Mm.
So what
Yeah.
what are we doing?
Knicks with the first 7 points of the game, Eagles with the next seven. Then Cheshire had nine in a row later on in the quarter to lead 22-13. And then there was a run around the first quarter break where they were up 13. And to be honest with you, looked like they were going to be comfortable after that. They led by as many
Yeah,
as 21.
you expect Cheshire to come out and having been beaten on the floor well, having lost the game or lost the tie on their home floor last week and be quite and having had a game in between. So
Mm,
they've stored it all up. So you expected them to come out and be quite aggressive. Um, and up for it, to use a phrase. I think they were. I thought Newcastle made some mistakes that they didn't make last week. They gave up some early shots, they gave up some threes in the corner. Diggins got going, that type of stuff. Um, and offensively, again, I didn't. They never really got anything out of Taylor until the second half. And one of the problems Newcastle are having is that they are susceptible to these runs in the first half, particularly at the end of the first quarter, middle of the second quarter. You've seen that now. You mentioned that on Friday, but it's happened in multiple games whereby the Mark's trying to allow his players to play themselves in the game, and by the time he's done it, it's kind of gone.
mm,
In this game, Mitch Clark was minus 22 in
mm,
12 minutes. Someone's minus 22 in 12 minutes. Maybe they should have only played six.
mm.
You know,
Yeah, yeah,
and I appreciate that down on bodies a little bit, but not so much that that you have to produce. Against Cheshire, the game's going to be in the 90s or the hundreds. You've got to produce. You've got to have guys who can score. And I thought it was noticeable when Newcastle in the second half shortened their rotation and they went, particularly Burden and Taylor playing together, which I talked
mm,
about earlier on. I thought they looked a totally different team. Because they're that extra kind of offensive um, offensive punch, but that was too late. They built themselves too much of a lead. Um, so yeah, it was Cheshire did what they meant to do in the first half, and to be fair, and you can also, he played conservative with Jack. Jack got 2,006 minutes, didn't come back in.
mm.
And does that work? Does that work? If you win the game at the end, you're a genius.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
lose the game at the end, you're thinking we're down 20 at half time. Perhaps you
yeah.
should have come back in the second quarter. So it's so that push me pull you. But
So,
I thought the other thing about sorry, Dan, quickly, I thought Cheshire were more controlled than they were last week.
mm,
I just thought they looked more like, this sounds a little bit disrespectful, but they look more like a normal basketball team insofar as um, I thought defensively they were a little bit more locked in. I thought offensively the ball moved a bit. It wasn't just kind of wasn't just give someone the ball and attack. I
mm,
thought they were more forensic about it. And I thought they also dialed, apart from Skyler's nonsense at the end, I thought they kind of dialed down the testosterone a little bit and
mm,
just played the game.
mm,
And I think they're better when they do that. And that might be the concentration of not having the coach, you see, because the coach isn't there, so everybody else picks it up to give them extra, 2 or 3% because they know that they have to. So I thought that they played more under control in this game, and that made a
mm.
big difference. But their defense is still means that even either way, a 20-point game at Ellesmere Port is a 10-point game anywhere else.
Yeah, yeah. So, full disclosure, three times I wrote down, and that was the game. The first one was at some point. I think it was at halftime. I wrote it down because it was still 19 points with just over a quarter to go. Eagles then with threes from Jack Long and Taylor posted a 17-1 run to cut it to 79-76 and make me delete that first, and that was the game.
Yeah,
And
I
then
mean they were helping.
Skylar hit five in a hurry to get Cheshire back at it, and again I went with, and that was it, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I thought I'll just say this. I thought again, and this is now I can be accused of proper sour grapes. I thought
Mm,
the refereeing in this game was horrible as well.
mm,
I don't think. I thought I've actually put a clip on Blue Sky of Maceo Jack leaving a 6 footer 4 feet short with
Mm,
Skylar White's hand on his elbow
mm,
and three referees looking at it and no one blowing the whistle, and then Cheshire get the rebound and I get fouled to get two shots the other end. I think Cheshire probably lost a few calls as well, to be fair, but I'm not necessarily sure it was overly one-sided. But there's so much physicality in these games, and Cheshire are a physical team, and they're entitled to be a physical team. It does put a lot of pressure on the refs, and I'm not sure the guys that we've got are up to it. There was a couple of other calls which we'll get to near down the stretch, which I wasn't overly impressed with. Again, with my black and white specs on, but I'll talk you through them in due course. The But notwithstanding that, because Cheshire plays so quick and because they're one on one, and Newcastle made some shots, they had the lineup in which you like, which was basically the two guards, Taylor and Burden, Jack and Hammond, and then Long. It's basically as small as they can get, and that's the lineup that brought them back because it takes away mismatches, and it gives them more shooting, and then Okafor comes in for Hammond. But it means that they've got guys who are going to score the ball and are going to produce in all areas. And Taylor went off in the second half, and Taylor is you can tell me Taylor is a better guard off the ball from my perspective.
mm, mm.
Given the ball, there's too much for him to do. Off the ball, I think he's very impactful. So yeah, so they got back into it in a run, and then
Yeah.
Cheshire went out
So
there.
yeah. So it was 12 with 2 minutes to go, and then Hammond and Taylor
Yeah,
hit
yeah.
threes to cut it to six, and then neither team were able to score. So I didn't even jot down. I thought it was finished again.
No,
So
down the bit where Burden got kneed into the wall by Rideau.
uh, I
And he
I I
looked at it,
haven't got
decided
that
that was
written
a
down. No.
the referee
No.
standing looking at it, decided there was nothing happened.
Mm.
Didn't spot that one. Or the one where Burden threw the ball on the baseline and I
The
think it was
kick
Pat
ball.
Robertson volleyed it to one of his mates for a layup at the other end, and
Mm.
ref didn't spot that either. So
No.
this, no, no, well, there you go. Here, my bitterness is coming out. I've had all season to let it out. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not chuffed with those calls.
Yeah.
Or indeed, the one in the third quarter where Cole Long went down the middle, took two long steps, was going up to shoot the ball, and didn't get it, and didn't get two shots because the ref said he passed it, when in
Mm.
fact he only dropped it because he was slapped on the arm.
Yeah.
It's just not good enough. And unfortunately, there will have been calls for Cheshire the other way as well. So I'm not, I just don't remember them because I wasn't probably as put out. And it's just not good enough. Sorry, go on.
What I did write
Third
down.
one, go back and look at that. Go back and look at that because
No,
you
no, I
see,
do remember it. I just didn't
yeah,
write it down, so I
I went
don't know
back and looked at
exactly
it.
when it happened. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
45 seconds to go in a 6 point game,
Yeah.
and he got an offensive rebound off a missed shot from Hammond, caught the ball, and then ends up 7 feet off the court in the wall thanks to Rideau's knee.
Mm.
But there we go. And a referee looking at it who says, no, he just stepped out of bounds and then flung yourself 6 feet in the background. I'm not even going to talk about Clark's technical flop.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, even Azania said that was tough. I mean,
Yeah.
we know what commentators would,
Yeah.
tough
Yeah.
commentators, because
Yeah.
as I found out, you're not allowed to say the truth.
Yeah.
That's so instead of saying that's an awful call,
Yeah.
you have to use commentators' language and say, well, that's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was an appalling call. Like, it may have been a block. I don't think it
Yeah.
was. It was a block, but
Yeah.
someone who's 4 stone heavier than you puts his hand out and whelps you and cleans you out, and then you call it as a flop and you're 4 feet away. These people shouldn't be reffing these games. So I've just
Uh,
named five at the top of my head. So,
yeah.
and as I say, I think Cheshire was a better team in the game. So I'm not particularly sore that Newcastle lost. I think it was all the game they were likely to lose. I think Newcastle lost the game in the first half where some of their guys didn't produce. But it has to be better than that.
So what I have got written down, 20.8 seconds to go, long in transition with the AM1, cut it to
That was a
three.
dumb foul.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a foul. It was a dumb foul. Long as going head down, you just let him take the two and get the ball in bounds.
Yeah. 99.96. Taylor then forces the ball loose with 13.1 seconds to go. Robinson sliding in, fouls Long.
Yeah, having volleyed the ball previously, so he thought he'd attempt a sliding tackle. No, to be fair to him, there was nothing wrong with that. He just was diving for the ball. It
Yeah.
just happened. It
Yeah.
was a foul, but it was just a committed effort for the ball.
Yeah. So 99.98. Timeout advanced the ball into White. Almost turned it over, to be honest with you. And then
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a good call. To be
Yeah,
fair, yeah, I mean, just got enough of him to. It was a,
trying to help
there
him
was.
into the backcourt violation.
Yeah, yeah. There was. It was. I wouldn't be upset with that call. I think it was in. Even if he'd stepped on the line and it'd been a back call, I think there was probably just enough contact there. There was a couple of other things that went on the inbounds as well. But there we go.
Mm. So two free throws made, 101.98. Jack misses a three. Hammond tips it out to Burden, misses a three, but both really decent looks. So I thought you'd be happy
Good
with
luck.
those if you were Mark, wouldn't you? They just
Yeah,
didn't go in.
yeah. Good luck. Smart play by Hammond. Smart play by Burton to get the ball from the we get behind the 3 point line to shoot it. Yeah, I mean they're both good looks. But your scoring race on the road, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah,
50,
yeah,
that's Cheshire, that's Brenchley, that's going in.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Timberlake or whoever, that's going in. It's if
yeah,
you're on the
yeah.
it's so rare that those shots going on the road, and if you get yourself into that situation that Newcastle did, whereby you have to score 60 points in the second half to get to to keep it close,
Mm.
then you've got a problem. But I mean, the one thing I'll say about I think Cheshire, I thought Cheshire were more controlled, and I thought they were pretty good in this game. Little bit, Cameron, I think, can get out of his own way a little bit at times. I think he almost tries a little bit too hard, a little bit too aggressive, gets himself into foul trouble. Diggins started off really well. Rideau was controlled. He was Rideau. The play in the first half where he just stepped in front of Hammond to draw the offensive foul on the inbounds. Again, I'd like the ref to tell us what they think of that. But it was a smart play. It was him doing something that was smart. Um, and Skylar made shots when he had to make them. When Newcastle were on the run, he was the guy who made two plays to get them back up to 8.
Mm.
So I think they just about did enough to win the game. Well, obviously they did because they won by 3. I thought ultimately Newcastle are going to have to be more ruthless with their lineups. You can't have. I mean, I think Burden was plus 16 or plus 18 in this game
Mm.
in 30 minutes, and which means that they lost the 10 minutes he didn't play by 21 or something like that. I mean, that means if he plays 34 minutes, maybe they win.
Mm. Yeah,
And sometimes, and I know you don't want to pick how many big you guys, but I don't know how many minutes some of the other guys played for Cheshire. So I just think, they can't have these second quarter, not meltdowns, but second quarter droughts.
mm.
And ultimately they're going to have to find a lineup outside of the starting lineup which works. Similarly, Taylor can't be having 20 points in the second half.
Mm.
You've got to be finding a way of producing stuff in the first half. But in the first half, Taylor didn't play with Burton.
Mm.
So he's on the ball off the ball. So they've got like little kind of team minutes stuff to figure out. Hopefully, Ward Tibbetts looks like he's getting a bit healthier as well from the warm up. So we're going to have him to fit into. But overall, it was yet another Ellesmere Port Sunday
Yeah,
night
yeah,
game,
yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It looked
Well,
all
you
over,
know,
and then the witching hour came. I think we nearly got a reverse witching hour tonight.
yeah, I
Uh,
mean, one thing I will say for Cheshire, you're up 12 with 2 minutes to go, you got to take the threes away.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
they can't beat you with twos. They came back into it because Taylor and Hammond got catch and shoot threes.
Mm,
Again, that's that desperation to play defense. London aren't giving them up.
mm,
And that's the difference between London and everybody else.
yeah, yeah,
London
yeah.
aren't giving those shots up. So yeah, fun game to watch.
Robinson 29, Diggins 17, Policelli 16.7 rebounds, 50 bench points for Cheshire. Taylor 22, Jack 16, Long 16 and 9 rebounds. So the table is thus: London over the hill and far away, 12 and 2. Cheshire 10 and 8 in second. Newcastle 9 and
No,
6.
Newcastle are not 9 and 6. I'll tell you that
Sorry,
now.
Sheffield. Did I say Newcastle? Sorry.
I'll
Sheffield.
take it, but they're
Yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah. Sheffield are 9 and 6. Manchester 8 and 7. Bristol 8 and 8. Leicester 7 and 7. And Surrey 7 and 8. And then Newcastle 6 and 10. And Caledonia 3 and 14 on the outside looking in.
Yeah, Caledonia have to win some games soon.
Yeah.
They're getting. I mean, I don't think Newcastle are going to be winless the rest of the season, and or indeed anybody else. And the margins on those games are very small. Newcastle win that game today. Newcastle 7 and 9, and and Cheshire's 9-9 or something like that, and literally everybody, virtually everybody close to 500.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so the margins are extremely small, and they have to win a couple of games and get some confidence quickly, because otherwise there's a risk that they could be marooned. And if you're 4 games out, if you're 4 games behind with, 12 left, and you've won 3 games all season, or
Mm,
4 games all season, it's a fine. You think, oh, just got to win this one, just got to win that one, but those games run out very quickly.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, no one wants to finish eighth anyway,
No, no.
because you get London.
Mm,
But having said that, Newcastle beat London last year from sixth.
yeah,
So I suppose things could happen. They could all melt down. The coach could get a job in Japan, all sorts of stuff. But really, you're playing for seventh. Everybody wants to be seventh. No one
yeah, yeah.
wants to be eighth. So yeah, aye, more fun.
Right, indeed. Well, that will do it for this week. I've no idea what's happening next week, but we'll work something out, and we'll be back again to do it all over again. But for now, goodbye.